back to For the Record. Now, the school year may just be getting started in Wisconsin, but already in 2025, nationwide, there have been 150 school shooting incidents. That's according to the K-12 school shooting database. And we saw a recent shooting in Minnesota just last week. And these numbers are why Wisconsin developed an Office of School Safety in 2018. I'm joined now by Director Trish Kilpin. Thanks for sitting down with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for caring about school safety.
Yeah. So obviously, we unfortunately had an incident very close to home here in Madison, the Abundant Life school shooting last December that killed a teacher and a student. So how can your office aim to prepare students and staff for a tragedy like this?
There are multiple ways that we need to be thinking about the ways that we approach these situations to prevent them from occurring. The Office of School Safety has simultaneously prioritize prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery as part of our efforts to keep students safe. The truth is, targeted violence is preventable. School shootings are preventable, but we have to do many things with sometimes limited resources in order to make sure that happens. And every school has its own approach to how to keep kids safe, but there are some elements that are required by the state. Every school has to have an emergency operations plan, which we call a school safety plan. Every school has a site assessment. We do training and drills, and we make sure that maps are available in case a crisis occurs so that people can respond quickly to those events.
And so are there things this year that we can look for from your office that you're maybe implementing as we head into Wisconsin's next school year?
We know when these shootings occur that they're planned and they're predatory. So we have prioritized making sure that the behavioral threat assessment and management process is something that schools are familiar with and that they have teams that are trained in order to make good decisions about keeping kids safe. That is something that we do prioritize, and this year we'll be rolling out some new materials for that. But we've trained over 8,000 people here in Wisconsin, even though it's not legislatively required to have a behavioral threat assessment and management team. We know it's a best practice, and so do schools. So they come to us as a resource for that. We also have Speak Up, Speak Out Wisconsin, and we're continuously growing that program. That's a place where people can report concerns. 82% of the time when there's been a school shooting, somebody knew of the shooter's plan to attack. This provides an opportunity for people to report their concerns early so that we can intervene and prevent violence from happening.
And so I kind of want to touch on some of the funding for you guys to make sure that these programs stay up and afloat. And I believe up until about 2023, you guys were run largely on COVID relief funds. Of course, in this state budget, you are now seeing some general funding. Are you seeing support from both sides of the aisle to continue these, as you say, necessary steps to prevent extreme violence?
Many of the model programs that we use here in Wisconsin, and when I say model programs, they're looked at nationally as exemplars of the types of programming that need to happen for schools to keep them safe. And many of those programs were started with federal grants. Federal grants are great to start programs, but not just to sustain them. We were really pleased in the last biennial budget that we did receive bipartisan strong support in giving us the permission to continue those programs by having authority to hire staff in permanent positions. So we're in the process of doing that now, and we will look forward to hopefully having continued support in terms of the funding that we need to sustain our operations.
And so you mentioned earlier in our conversation that there's some things that aren't legislatively required but are best practice.
Yeah.
Are there laws either kind of going through the works right now or that you would like to see that you think would help keep kids in Wisconsin safe?
There are requirements. They're part of the statute 11807, which is health and safety requirements for schools. And those are the required elements that we need to see from schools, and they submit to our office. We provide a review and some reflection back on some model practices, places that people could improve if they're interested. But there's a lot of local decision making going on in terms of school safety. There are states across our nation that do have legislation about things like requiring a behavioral threat assessment or requiring things like like having SUSO. Here in Wisconsin, we're growing a coalition of people who are interested in that work, and we're seeing a high number of our private and our public schools and our independent schools really collaborating with us and embracing those practices.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
For the Record, we'll be back right after this.